And we continue with Dirshu Mishnah Berurah. We're in the middle of Siman Ayin Dalid, learning all about the halachas of Kriya Shema. And actually, to put it more precisely, we've been learning about how the halachas of Davar Shebekdusha, Davar Shebe'erva relate when it comes to saying Kriya Shema. We're holding an Ayin Dalid, Sif Dalid. Says the Machaber, Yishmi Shaimer Shanashim Yicholis Levarich Lispalik Shem Levushais HaCholok Aval Pi She'inin Mafsikos Lamata Me'alev. There are those that say that everything that we've been speaking about, having a separation between Lev and Erva, is only by men. But when it comes to a woman is allowed to daven, a woman is allowed to make a bracha. A woman is allowed to say Hashem's name, even when she's wearing a cholok, a tunic, a robe, even though there is no separation between heart and Makayim Erva. Says the Rama, if they're undressed, their erva has to be stuck into the ground. They have to be sitting in a way that their erva is covered by the ground, or they are sitting al shar davar and something else, because then their heart will not see their leave, which is different by a man. So we're learning over here, so there's almost a, I don't know the right way of saying it, but the difference here is that when it comes to the anatomy of a woman's body, when it comes to a man, regardless you're lying, standing, sitting, your heart and nerve are always going to be seeing each other. But because I say makam of an isha is more underneath, if she's going to be sitting down, then she's going to be able to be in a situation that her leiv and erva will not be viewing one another. So let's see the Mishnah Berurah in Sifkat and Tezvav as he explains exactly what's going on over here. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Yechelis Lavarich, a woman is allowed to make a bracha. Explains the Mishnah Berurah, what's the reason? Hatam, as we just said, because a woman's erva is all the way on the bottom, facing the ground. A man's erva is in the front of the body. So the man's heart and his erva are both seeing each other. But a woman's erva is on the bottom. So therefore, her heart is not seeing straight down, doesn't see her erva. But says Mishnah Berurah, if they're standing undressed, it's a different problem. Then it's a gilu erva. As we spoke about in the previous sif, and we always have the issue that one can never make a bracha with an exposed erva, lo mitzad a not because his own leave can see the erva, but rather el mitzad shenemar leir b'chayr v'staver, there should not be an erva staver v'asur levarich if one is in a situation with an exposed erva. So we're seeing over here, and excuse me that you can't see some of the words. There you go, that's a little bit better. What we're seeing over here is that there's always two issues. The issue of erva, seeing the leiv, and then this dominant issue of having an exposed erva, which of course we spoke about this yesterday at length. Ella continues the Mishnah Berurah. This woman has to be sitting. Like the Ramah comments, if she's sitting, even if she's completely undressed, now her erva is downward towards the ground, and therefore her heart no longer sees her erva, and the erva is no longer exposed. So the Mishnah now almost asks the kasha. Mishnah just said that what's the issue? The issue is not libay rayas erva. What's the issue? The issue over here is, and apologies that it's a little bit choppy. Let's hope that we could quickly resolve that while we're recording over here. I think that should be a little bit better. Says the Mishnah Berurah, the issue is seemingly not libay royas erva, because the Mishnah Berurah just explained that the woman's erva is underneath, and therefore she doesn't have a problem of her heart seeing her erva. So why are we saying over here, why did the Ramah comment seemingly that the issue is the fact that it's libay royas erva? So explains the Mishnah Berurah, lav davka liban doesn't mean really the lev. That's lav davka, the liban belavach in roiv ervasan. Because says Mishnah Berurah, in reality, her leiv really doesn't ever see her erva. What the Ramah is commenting on is that we don't ever want to have a completely exposed erva kamar. And it's a mistake. And what the Ramah meant to say is that then it will not be, their erva will not be visible. Okay, that is halacha number one. It continues Mishnah Berurah, Sefkata Tezayin Mei Ha-Leiv. Says the Mishnah Berurah, V'abach Chaylik, the Bach argues, Usfir Allah, Degam Be'isha, B'inan Havsaka, Ben Leiv L'Erva. Even by a woman, you need to have havsaka, you need to have separation. I feel like Sheish Lamalbish, even when she's wearing a robe. Says Mishnah Berurah, the Bach is machmir, but the other achrayim are mekel, like the Shulchan Aruch. Ein Yordei have been reish, the maski ataz v'shach sham, the fimash posik Shulchan Aruch, poi, the yishayach v'isha libera yisarva. This is Siman Reish. This is in Yeridea when it talks about a woman going into the mikvah and how she makes a bracha. And over there we say the Shach and the Taz based on our Shulchan Aruch. The fact that it's not shaykh for a woman's leave to see her erva, as we explained, because woman's leave is facing down, not leave. Woman's erva is facing downwards, and because woman's erva is facing downwards, therefore her heart will never see her erva. That's the reason why a woman's allowed to make a bracha on the tefillah when she's standing undressed. Even though she's undressed. There's no issue of gilui erva. Because the water covers up the erva, so a woman seemingly has no problem at all. What's better? This is what it said. This is the psak halacha when I'm going to a mikvah. To have the lave out of the water, then it's definitely in two different rishis. It says shari af beish, as we have explained. That's 1/8. So again, really make her adin. How does a woman taivel? A woman can taivel standing in a mikvah, no problem. She's undressed. The two issues have been taken care of. Number one is a libay rayis erva. No, because a woman's erva is lamated, cannot be seen. Number two is her erva exposed. No. Why? Because it's underwater. Says the Mishnah Berurah, it's better to do one of two eitzes. Either have only half her body in the water, and therefore her heart is not seeing her erva, because the heart is out of the water, it's in a separate area. Or number two, and this is more commonly applied, the reason being is because all our mikvahs, of course, have a lot of water, and therefore a woman is really not able to have her heart out of the water. They pushed their arms in, whether they do like this, whether they do like this, they push their arms in underneath their heart, into their body, and that creates a separation. That's what women do. As we've explained, if the mikvah has a dirt floor, and you push around the floor, and therefore brings up the water, therefore you can't see the erva. Says Mishnah Berurah, let's say there are other women standing undressed in the mikvah. Of course, she can't be viewing them because then she's making a bracha facing erva. Even if you can tell me that being in the mikvah is a separate shus does not help. We'll see. Continued, the Ramah said that certainly if a woman is sitting, then her erva is on the ground. It's two chais, it's pushed into the ground. There's no issue. Explains Mishnah Berurah, devukais. Excuse me, you can't see these words. There you go. Devuka is pushed in and mechusas bekarka and covered with the ground. And of course, by a man, this is not shaykh because even if a man is sitting, his erva is going to still be exposed. Because the beitzim of the gid, the makam erva, is sticking, is going to be in the front, and therefore even when a man is sitting, you're going to have this issue. Magen Avram, like man simin reish vav. Continues the Mishnah Berurah, Siman Reish Vav, the Daitai, that the Magen Avram Paskins, the Af im Agavois, near an Ein Lahakbid. If the backside is visible, that we're not makbid on. The Agavois Ein Bam Mishum Erva. This is something that really has been a thread throughout. We haven't even mentioned this, but we kept on talking about Makam Erva from the front, and maybe one is wondering, what about the backside of a person? Why isn't the Agavois an issue? Says the Mishnah Berurah, we paskin like the Magen Avram, it does not have a din of Erva. Chemash Ksaz Bir Agra, Val Yerabba Pasking, the Agavois Yeshem Mishum Erva, El Yerabba argues with the Mishnah Berurah, usually going like the guy over here, sounds like we're going to Magen Avram and the guy, and therefore the Agavais will not be an issue. And we continue over here with Sif Hey. Says the Machaber in Sif Hey, Shar Ivarov. Other limbs, Royin as Erva Mutter, if they could see, quote unquote, Erva is not a problem. Touching being one's own erva or the erva of his friend, also likras kriyishma lispal. Now with this, we have to modify something that I said yesterday. Yesterday we spoke about the fact of one's own hand can be used as a cover to create a separation between liboy rayas erva. And I said he could be holding on to his erva. That's incorrect. That's not true. As we're seeing right over here, what it meant is that you're pressing into your stomach, pressing into your chest, but not that you're actually holding your erva. As we're seeing over here, if one is touching his erva, he cannot make a bracha. Oy larchiga minyan shloyiga hagid bahem. That your kid can be touching one's thighs. Says the Mishnah Berurah over here, Sivkat in Yirches. Right. Ratzalaymer. What does this mean? Doesn't mean it has to be covered the erva b'fnei atzo b'ezid davar kadesh lo yira ivarim, so doesn't see the erva. Ezeh me'ivarav. The gazriya negiya shar ivarim mishum negiya is yadav. This is the reason why it was a catastrophic mistake. What I said yesterday in passing, I mentioned that when he says that you could be grabbing yourself and therefore acts as a barrier, acts as a separation. But of course, that's not going to be to hold the erva itself. It means holding your stomach, etc. Because the whole gezerah here is that nothing is allowed to touch your erva. Gezerah, because we don't want your hands to touch the erva. Why do you want your hands touching the erva? Because we don't want to come to the day here. Hagid bahem avol benegia, the kiss ain lahakbid. If the erva is inside a kiss, inside a pair of underwear, etc., then we're not worried. Ain lachash by mishamir. There's no problem of hero. This is actually referred to even if in one's hand, if he's holding with some sort of beged, etc. Even if one's gid is touching his thigh, b'diavad it is fine. And that is the Pri Megadim Ladas the Pri Chadash move allows him in Ayin Gimel b'Mishnah Berurah Sivkata and Dalid. Sivkata and Dalid. Okay, and let's finish off today's shir with Sif Vav. Says the Machaber is Talisa Chagura Masav L'Chaseisu Masav L'Mata. If one's talus is wrapped around his waist to cover from his waist and downward. Af al Pishim Masav L'Malo Arum. The top half of his body is undressed. Matalikra is Krishma. He's not allowed to say Krishma. Aval is palal aser ashechase liboy. So if someone takes a talis, takes a garment and wraps it around his waist, so now from his lave and downward, I say from his waist and downward is covered, even though from his waist and upward is bare-chested, says the Machaber, let us say Shema, but you're not allowed to daven. Says the Mishnah Berurah over here, Sivkatan Chaf Aleph, Mimas Lavulamata, Ratzalaymer, Afilu Rak Alamata Mervasli. Even if it's like a pair of shorts, not really shorts even, because it's just, it's almost like a short skirt one would be wearing. He's taking a small towel and wrapping around his waist. It's going to go down until his erva. Medina, likras krishma medin, that's going to work. For tefillah, you have to have your whole body covered. Says Mishnah Berurah, at a time of need, of course, this should never be done. And of course, we mentioned that what would be a classical application, perhaps if one is lying in his bed and he's undressed, this would be the time, if one cannot get dressed, that in a time of need, he'd be allowed to put the blanket from his waist and downward and wrap it around tight, and we don't have labor rice in erva, we don't have anything touching the erva, and we have the erva covered, and we get rid of all issues. Since his erva is covered, and his talus as well is separate in his labor and his erva. Who didn't call gufai, so to his entire body, ID duration. Of course, this is perhaps the opening to all of the Tefillah, and therefore, even though for Birchas, for Kriyishma, for Brachos, for Shemu Malchus, for Bimkabel Malchus Shamayim, you're allowed to do it if one is bare-chested. But when it comes to Tefillah, you're standing in front of the king, you're talking to the king. And therefore, you can be yaitze with Kriyishma, even though you can't daven in such a way. And we'll pick it up for the next siman, B'siyata Dishmaya.